Hi guys, I'm Rad Joey.
And I'm Maxon.
And welcome back to FutureSight. Today we're covering Empoleon from Dark Rush. Empoleon is a stage 2 with 140 hit points, a retreat cost of 2, and a weakness to lightning. He has 1 attack command, which for 1 water energy allows you to do 10 damage for each Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's. Empoleon also has the ability Diving Draw. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, you can draw 2 cards. Additionally, for once, we actually have a deck list to go with this. This deck list is provided courtesy of ptcg.creatures.co.jp. I'll leave the link in the description. As you can see, the deck itself has a pretty simple build. It's a 4-3-4 build on Empoleon, 2 Tornadus, and 4 Aerodactyl. We'll go over that monster list before we move on to the trains and supporters and see what we think from there.
Hang on, did you say 2 Tornadus X?
Yeah, there's 2 in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one's right at the far side for some reason.
Yeah.
Probably just keep things symmetrical. Beautiful symmetry.
I have to go to my home planet now.
Woo! Opposite sides of the bloody list.
But go on.
As you can see, with the 4-3-4 list, it's pretty standard. Some people would want to run 4-2-4. In Japan, they've decided to go for the 4-3-4, just with obviously being their black and white on format, and them not having the resources we have to actually be able to search things out as readily. We've also got the... Oh, sorry, were you going to say something?
You mean we don't have collector in the list?
Basically, yes.
No collector, no doable.
Yep, no basic search at all. But we'll move on to the trains and supporters in a short while. Next we have the 2 Tornadus. I'm guessing this is...
Tornadus EX.
Yeah, sorry, Tornadus X, yes. Personally, I'm not actually sure why we actually have the Tornadus X there. I'm guessing it's just...
I do.
Okay then, if you want to enlighten me, please.
Because this deck only has 6 basic Pokemon, and it'd be really helpful if you had something that wasn't going to die in 2 seconds.
True. I was actually going to say my idea was it's going to be this like big wall thing with decent damage output.
If you only run 6, chances are we're probably going to start with a Piplup and a Tornadus. Probably turn 1. Probably going to maybe have a Piplup and a Tornadus switch and wall for a bit.
True, but there's absolutely no switch in this list. Well,
you do, because I'm assuming Piplup's retreat cost is 1 energy.
Yeah, it will be. Bear me 2 seconds. Okay. And yes, it is. It's a retreat cost of 1.
Well, there you go. It's just retreat, Piplup, go Tornadus, wall for me. Also, if you're only running 6 Pokemon, it's probably going to be quite likely going to mulligan a few times, so maybe it's probably just to start with it some way.
That would also explain the very heavy N line as well. You don't really want to let your opponent mulligan their entire deck into their hand and then leave them with it. That turn 1 N could just put you back on even footing at least. And of course, we've got 4 Aerodactyl in here. But he's there to do what Aerodactyl does best. Basically act as a permanent plus power. With an attack command, you've got the option to be able to turn around and say, well, everything in play is 10 damage. Aerodactyl will turn around and say, I'm not 10, I'm 20 damage.
It's kind of like the old Jumpluff decks used to run the Cherim. Was it from Secret Wonders or Stormfront? They gave plus 10 to all grass Pokemon, yeah.
Yeah, it was the one
that similar to that in a way.
Yeah, the one that paired with Sizor for a short while.
Yeah, but
until someone said, I want to buff it instead, and then they took my deck and made it like God mode. Hi, Max.
But it's just basically there so that instead of having instead of the Pokemon providing a plus 10, it provides a plus 20 to Empoleon's attacks.
True. Of course, with Aerodactyl, we do have his calling requirements. This list has actually gone for Twist Mountain, which I think anyone with half a brain would do. Yeah, no one's going to go for the Old Amber. Not even in an extra troll list would you go for Old Amber, even if you can play it every turn. I mean,
also, the stadium provides for Tornadus' attack.
Yeah, making the 30 into a 60 on that double colorless. I think actually it might be a better idea to actually just move on to the train support line now. Until we can think of something more interesting to say about the Pokemon line.
It's an Empoleon, you swarm with Empoleon and you win.
Well, true.
Not much to talk about, really.
How do we swarm, though? Obviously, we've got 4 candy, we've got the communication to grab them, but I'm actually quite liking the trainer supporter line. It turns around and it says, you know, I do one thing and one thing alone. I draw cards.
Well, Empoleon alone draws cards.
Well, yeah, it seems to be the feel of the whole deck. It's just, yeah, draw some more. I mean, at no point do any of these cards actually give you a negative. Sharon, you know, draw 3. You've got 3 in hand. Empoleon in play, that 3 consume, become 4. Technically, it's 5 off your deck, but it's only a +4 on hand size. And at any point in the game, even if you end yourself down to 1 card, Empoleon can make that 1 card into 2, unless you want to play it.
Depends on how many Empoleon you can play. You could make that 2 cards into 3, and those 3 cards into 4. It's amazing.
And what? Can you get up to 5? Let's see.
Well,
1, 2, 2, 3, 3 to 4. Yeah, you can get up to 5 cards from just 1 card off end. So yeah, I had to go through that. I didn't want to, actually factor in for a 5th Empoleon, unless there's some kind of hacks going on. But we don't have anything like that in format. We also have the X Transceiver. It's basically the old Quick Ball for supporters instead of Pokemon. Fun.
X Transceiver is just so good in this. Well, it's just a good card. You're going to get a supporter card. How is this a bad thing?
Well, in this deck, maybe a mid to late game Bianca might not be too helpful, but at least it's a case of, you know, you've got that Bianca out your deck. Your next draw is going to bring you closer to something else.
It's just going to grab a important card that's going to help you, regardless of what game say. If you've got Bianca, I think in a deck like this, it's probably easy for that Bianca to be a +1 pretty easily, or you can even discard it going with Empoleon.
True. That might be why it's such a heavy Bianca line, just for the whole fact that even if you can't use it as a supporter, you can still drop it to draw more. But actually, if I can't see it being a bad thing to actually say, well, here's a Bianca I can't use, drop it, draw 2. Oh look, Sharon. I mean, as I said, even if you can't use it, it's still out of your deck. It is still your deck thinned by 1 more card. It just increases your actual odds of drawing into something else that's going to help you.
And the other cards in the deck are 2 Catcher, 2 Super Rod, and 3 Twist Mountain.
Well,
the Twist Mountain's obviously for Aerodactyl.
Yeah, which I want to get onto in a minute.
What the 4 communication?
Well, communication does what communication does. It's...
Yeah.
Well, I have a candy and a Prinplup in my hand. Best communicate that Prinplup.
Yeah, exactly. What's same with any stage 2 deck?
So not too much to go over. I mean, people may notice there's actually none of the ball engine in here. I mean, to be honest, like, level ball's only going to really grab you Piplups, Primplups, and Aerodactyl. Yeah, Aerodactyl's only got 90 hit points. Really, like, most of the key focus of the deck can't be grabbed by it, so we can't go there. Empoleon only has a retreat cost of 2, and Tornadus, as everyone knows, has a retreat cost of 1, so we can't use Heavy Ball in here at all.
It's more designed to be a more just try and draw into what you need as opposed to search for it.
The only thing I'm really questioning is the whole idea that the deck doesn't have Ultra Ball at all. I mean, I'd expect 1 or 2 in here with the fact that you run such a heavy Bianca line. You can afford to thin your hand out to draw more from your deck and then use Empoleon later. It does surprise me that, you know, the Ultra Ball wasn't included in this list, but
I don't think it's really needed, to be honest. I mean, Empoleon draws cards. I mean, all these, you got like what? What's the 12 supporters that are all going to get you plus something, and the extra transceiver is basically 4 more supporters.
Well, yeah, it guarantees supporters. But as I say though, like, with a large hand, I think you'd prefer to play Bianca, even if it's only for 1 or 2 cards, and then have something to drop, than to actually just drop a Bianca to draw 2 from Empoleon.
I still think that's just like in this deck. It basically you may as well be playing. What's it? 16 supporters really, which is so good.
Effectively, it is 16 supporters. In fact, the trainer support line is, well, the actual train line is quite slim. If you don't include the 3 Twist Mountain, you're only really running 12 trainers. Oh no, sorry. It's 16 trainers, but 4 of them are technically grab a supporter. It's also running a pretty heavy energy line. I mean, a deck like this where you only require 1 energy to attack, it's running 12 energies.
Well, that's probably... Well, it can afford to. I mean, you can drop an energy to get 2 cards.
That's actually what I was going to say, thanks for picking me to it. It's like, basically, you know, you can drop the energy to draw. You've got Super Rod there, so you can recover energy, as well as you've mentioned in our previous conversations, that you can use it for Empoleon lines. I mean, with 4 candy and a 4-3-4 line, you can afford to pick up just the basic and stage 2 to actually get a future Empoleon out with 4 candies. Or you could even use candies itself as actually a card to drop for Empoleon. Really though, I think a big question is how would we personally optimize this? I mean, I've already mentioned the fact that
in our current format or in a black and white onwards format.
I think for the sake of how this list is built right now, keep it as black and white onwards.
Pray you don't play against Zekrom or Eels.
Well, yep. Pretty much.
I don't know. I mean, black and white ones, maybe. I don't know. It's pretty hard to say since we're not in a black and white ones format yet, so we don't really know what cards are going to be valued yet. And I don't know. I'm not really quite sure. The list looks perfectly fine. I don't know if I could drop some energy for maybe another. I probably think in a Western format, you probably run more catcher.
Probably 1 more catcher. Personally,
I could easily see people dropping 2 energy for 2 more catcher. It's just a strong card, especially with Empoleon being able to hit for pretty high numbers.
As I was going to say, personally, I actually see them. I could see myself dropping the Aerodactyl for Terrakion.
Well, Aerodactyl's not really there for the matchup for Eels, it's just for the +20. If they're going to drop anything for the matchup, it'd probably be Tornadus. Because the Tornadus gives up 2 prizes, and it with Terrakion, it's just doing the same thing, just being there for the sake of extra guys to hit big damage.
True. That is a good point, but personally I think it's just Terrakion, it isn't a fossil. You don't need the heads coin flip. You can just play it down, so you've got a guaranteed 10 there. Plus the fact that, you did mention the matchup, but it will counter Electric quite powerfully. Although there's actually a reason why Aerodactyl doesn't really work in here. Again, it only really helps you against other Empoleons. The 2 Aerodactyls down will allow you to one-shot an opposing Empoleon if your opponent fills their field, but there's no other matchup that you really take it from being, well, I 2-shot you without Aerodactyl, I will one-shot you with Aerodactyl. It's going to be a 2-shot either way. I'd rather have the guy I can play straight from hand and
that's pretty debatable, to be honest. I think that's pretty debatable. Because you'd have to consider what HP everything is on. And also with Aerodactyl, it means not relying on your opponent to fill the bench. A smart opponent won't fill the bench against Empoleon. So with Aerodactyl, you're practically counteracting them not playing a bench.
Only to a given extent, and is a coin toss really worth it? I mean, what if you have your unluckiest day possible and hit nothing but tails? It is completely possible. I mean, I personally run Vanillux and I've seen it happen. It happens to me a lot.
Oh yeah, but it's probably... And there's no other Pokemon that does what it does for Empoleon, and that's why it's there.
I mean, I do see your point that it does aid your strategy when your opponent tries to counteract it, but it's just the fact that, it takes 2 shots and keeps them as 2 shots.
Well, I don't know, if both the opponent and you have a full bench, that's what, 120 base.
Well, yeah. As I
And
said,
Empoleon can make Empoleon. Aerodactyl can make the 130 that can one-shot dragons, or basic dragons. It can also one-shot all the musketeers.
well, not all of them. Doesn't wait? Is it all of them? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, there's all of them. Because
Even Virizion resists it, but with Aerodactyl's additional damage.
True. Yeah. Sorry. It's like you'd need 2 Aerodactyls to take out Virizion, but he's very rarely seen these days since 6 Corners like vanished off the face of the earth.
But you see what my point is? It does help. It does allow you to one-shot things.
But we are
More
still.
damage is always good.
It's
more damage
still
than
going. We're still in this X format though.
Oh, yeah, that's true, but it's like...
And I'd rather have my bench sitter be able to attack, to be honest. I mean,
I'd
you know, you
rather
can.
to be able to do something passively rather than just sit there.
Well, yeah, but if you have to rely on your bench sitter, you know, if worse comes to worse, and in a format with no basic search, I could see that happening quite easily.
The other thing
You
about
may have to
Aerodactyl-
attack with an Aerodactyl, and it's 3 energy to do 50 if he's on his own.
The other thing with Aerodactyl is it's another cat. It's kind of like a. It acts as like not a double-edged sword. I don't know what I'm thinking. It's like if your opponent is trying to stop you doing more damage, it's possible to go for Aerodactyl, which will save you an Empoleon.
That is a good point. Yeah, but it's a case of you still are like you. That's actually coming back basically to our Ninetales argument like 2 episodes ago. Like the whole fact that like basically bluffing out that one card.
Except my bluff does something.
It's the exact same bluff as well. Here's a guy.
No. Your Vulpix does nothing when it's in play. Aerodactyl does something when it's in play.
Oh right, I thought you meant the bluff does nothing, as in it doesn't. You know, my bluff doesn't save my active.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm just saying. It's like Aerodactyl. Yeah, it's another thing your opponent has to calculate into what prizes do they take.
That is true.
It's like, do I go for Empoleon to stop the attacking, but this Aerodactyl's still giving it plus, or do they go for Aerodactyl? It's stuff like that.
Thing is though, if they take the Aerodactyl, yeah, they've got rid of the guy providing plus 10, but if they get rid of Empoleon, they've got rid of your attacker. And your next Empoleon is still going to be minus 10 overall.
The only you're talking about optimizing this deck. Obviously, the only thing I really think of taking Aerodactyl out was maybe plus power. I mean, I know it's not quite as consistent though, because obviously Aerodactyl they're constantly in plus powers, the one-off. But I think taking out Aerodactyl with plus powers and then maybe putting in things like the new mantle and the scarf, and putting those in the deck might help it in against certain matchups.
Basically, give yourself like more hit points to actually keep yourself
more
going.
More survivability as opposed to
or be able to bounce it back to your hand so you can actually set up a fresh one.
Other than that, I don't know really what to change about this. Obviously, I'd probably drop 2 water for 2 catchers because catcher's so strong.
I'd only go for the 3rd catcher, to be honest. I mean, once
we don't have jump up now.
True, I'm just thinking that 2 catchers in hand can kind of be dead. You know, especially if you want to actually lower the number of cards in your hand for that Bianca. I mean, that's one thing that's keeping my eye, the fact that it's running like the full playset of Bianca, and the fact that you do want to keep you want to keep your hand size down so you can get as much out of that card as possible. I mean, I'd rather be able to turn around and say, play Bianca, draw 2, and then drop a card to draw 2, instead of just saying, well, I just topped it Bianca, I'll drop it to draw 2.
I think the other reason Bianca's there is probably when late game, if you haven't used many, you can use N, and you can probably be rest assured you're probably going to draw into Bianca sooner or later.
Basically, you play percentages. I mean, if you've only used 1 X Transceiver and 1 Bianca, that's 6 cards left in your late game deck that you can draw that is effectively Bianca.
Well, you'd have to do it more calculated, because X Transceiver can be any of the supporters.
True, but it's a...
Yeah, I know what I'm saying, but there's more calculations that would need to be required.
It's a case of if you're X Transceiver and you hit a Sharon, then you're still getting plus 2 draw. So minus 3 from deck, plus 2 on hand.
I think it's probably best to be, for a topic, it's probably to talk about how it would affect our current format.
Good point. Good point. The major thing I can see is actually, who we were talking about yesterday. Eels will destroy this. I thought you meant, what will this stop?
Oh, what will this stop? Any Earth fighting or any most fighting?
Yeah, it'll Excadrill will pretty much be taken out by it.
I'm quite interested to see if, obviously, I don't see it played. We don't see it played now, but if Typhlosion if there was people playing it, this would probably be the final nail in the coffin for it.
True. Well, fire has pretty much disappeared, but anyone who's was hanging onto it, just doesn't have it anymore. Fire is completely literally blown out of the water with this.
I don't dish.
Yeah. Although the Zoroark matchup with this would be quite interesting. Just for the fact that Zoroark relies on that full field to get its damage out.
Yes, that's quite true. And I think in that matchup, it would have to depend how fast Zoroark could get set up. If Empoleon can get 2 or 3 Empoleon set up, then I think it'd probably be in its favour. Because you only need 10 Pokemon in play. So it's going to be 8 more Pokemon if you include the active.
It's they're always going to have a full bench anyway. They're going to constantly provide you with the 60. So it's basically, can you get 3 guys on your bench? Yes, I can.
There's one thing that really bothers me about this deck, and it's probably early game spread, or even Trainer Lock would be really harmful for this deck.
True, but Trainer Lock's pretty much coming to an end now.
Yes.
with the release of Raikou basically destroys it. Truth variants can't last anymore, and anything like Deluxe Chandelier they lose the Trainer Lock after 2 turns. And after that Trainer Lock's gone, it's goodnight Irene.
I don't think it would really affect the current format too much. I don't think it'd see many top tables, considering that you've got Durant, Eels, and CMT. Because I think CMT easily outspeeds it.
Oh,
it will gain
incredibly
speed from Tornadus.
One thing I'm actually thinking is it probably will actually win somewhere, but that's just, I'm going to throw it out there, it's basically just going to be the States. Just because anything that's hyped is going to win at least 1 tournament in the States, especially something like Battle Roads, where people don't give it their A game.
That's what it's for, is just for people to test new decks.
True. It all depends who wins with it, though. If the right person wins with Empoleon, everyone will hype it.
It'll be interesting, but as I say, with Eels being a top deck at the moment, I just don't see this deck surviving very well.
True, it won't survive at all, really. It's going to be a fun deck to actually play.
Yeah. But people who are determined to play this deck will probably obviously will like Terrakion and stuff, but I don't know how far that will get them. It'll probably help them in a few matchups, but I think in the long run it will fall short.
Actually, I think with all that said, I think we should actually sign off for the night.
Alright then.
Well, I've been Writer Joey.
I've been Maxon.
If you like what you've heard, don't forget to rate, comment and subscribe. And until next time, stay in the top %.